So we've seen a lot of news from Russia that the recent movements of the Western NATO countries to strike within within Russia long-range targets is not being accepted as something that will be an acceptable in aggression. This has been talked about pretty extensively by various political candidates. I know Trump has talked about this. Kennedy was saying a lot about this. I think there was an interview with Tulsi Gabbard, which happened recently, where this is being discussed, and almost universally, people are saying we're on the brink of nuclear war here. Rusty, I know this is something that you had taken some time to look into, and you brought this up. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. Like, you caught the interview with Tulsi Gabbard, right?
Oh, okay, yeah, I didn't see if I was quite on stage. Yes, I did notice the interview with Tulsi Gabbard last night that she had with Tucker Carlson. Sorry, I having thunderstorms in the background and might lose my connection. But yes, I think that this is something that is very imminent and could become a huge issue, especially with the large amount of nuclear weapons that both sides have amassed over the many years. I mean, the last time we really thought about nuclear weapons or anytime we think about them, I kind of revert back to 1940s. And you know that's 89, 90 years from away ago. Like I can't even do the math right now, but you know, most of the people that were alive on the earth weren't even alive when the nuclear weapons started. And so it hasn't even been even a like really an act of nuclear weapons since then. That was the only time that it's ever really been threatened or that's it's ever really been achieved. I mean, it's been threatened a couple of times, but that's the only time that anybody's ever actually pushed the button and actually said, "Yeah, we'll drop a couple of nukes." And the technology has really gone up since then, and the way that you can transport those weapons. I mean, they were saying in the interview last night that you know any city in America is a nuclear target. Like there's nowhere in America that Russia can't hit or somebody else, one of these nations that have nuclear weapons can't attack if they wanted to.
Yeah,
And
the intercontinental ballistic missiles, the ICBMs. I remember when I was younger, they used to talk a lot about that. We'd run fire drills where we would hide under our desk and put our hands over our head as if that was going to do anything.
And Tulsi talked about that last night on her interview. You know, she said, "What would happen? You know, the Democrats are kind of joking around or plotting around and saying, you know, Hennessy messages here and there that you know, if we just drop one nuclear missile, it wouldn't be really that bad. You know, it would send the message and we could get what we need done. It wouldn't really be that bad, and there wouldn't be that much of a retaliation if we just used one. But I mean, there would be, and anywhere that they can reach, they could want to reach, and she was saying, what are they going to do if they do retaliate back and send a missile? And you know, there's the drill is what, like, go seek cover. How many people actually have a nuclear bomb cover that they can reach within 15 minutes? I mean, the time distance is also a big factor here. Like you think back into World War II, it took hours or days to prepare a nuclear strike. I mean, if they push the button, a nuclear weapon could hit within 30 minutes.
Or faster. I saw that the hypersonic missile that Yemen fired at Tel Aviv was, I do believe, a Russian missile. And I have seen reports earlier this year that the United States was worried in Ukraine about Russia using their hypersonic missiles. The missile that Yemen fired at Israel at Tel Aviv, it reached Mach 9 times the speed of sound. So over 1,000 miles in 10 minutes.
Yeah, and when I was saying 30 minutes, I was giving, you know, like a large leeway of I think they said in the interview it'd only take 15 minutes for something like that, like for a nuclear weapon to actually reach a city and or an area. And when she said that there was a drill. I forget the year that they said they had a drill in Hawaii, that there was a nuclear missile that was directed towards Hawaii, and they just told Hawaii, the whole area of Hawaii, to seek cover. And as I was saying, how many people are really going to be able to seek cover and have the ability to have a nuclear shelter within 15 minutes away, or have the knowledge to be able to be within that area to be safe? I mean, there isn't really a shelter for normal people. There isn't really a shelter for really I would say the average person. If a nuclear weapon does go off, there's only going to be a small amount of people that are either these, far out people that decide that they're going to build their own bunker, or these millionaires that have enough money to build one in the backyard that they don't even care about.
Well, this is why I was most excited about Bobby, but also gladdened by Trump's Elon interview, because we need to be thinking we should have been aware of the danger of the conflict in the Ukraine that began. I mean, even going back as far as 2014, we should have long been questioning American policies after the collapse of the Soviet republics, and instead of drawing back our defense industry, we instead have talked this line about rules-based order and the benevolence of the American empire. And I think we're reaching a point at which I don't know. I think about the threat of a nuclear catastrophe often now, and I very much worry that this is what this election and the policies of the Biden-Harris administration, the fact that we are engaged in a hot war with Russia right now, and yet our Congress is not involved in it. It is totally run by the Pentagon or shadowy figures who we don't even know.
Yeah, whatever happened to declaring war? If we're going to be in a war, I thought that was the responsibility of Congress. I remember,
I think technology killed war.
Having been very close to 9/11, right? Like, because that just the anniversary was recent. Remember, there was the big discussion about whether they were going to declare war or whether it was, a military action, and President Bush saying, "Well, I'm just going to do this because I don't need an act of war. I don't need Congress to declare war." And it was a big fight. It was a huge deal at the time.
I mean, that's what I was really saying when I was saying, like, kind of technology killed war, or the term of war. Is when you think back, like, war used to be a big event. You used to have to take big amounts of people to go fight the other amounts of people in the battlefield. I mean, you look back way before the age. That's how they used to line up on the battlefield and just fight in rows, and that's what was considered war. And nowadays with technology, I mean, people can fight wars from their computers over in whatever state they want to live in, with the drones and with the different computers and with all the different technology that we have, where you can sit on a boat, in the ocean 300 miles away and push a button, and that's conducting war. I mean, and what it can take to make a war act, or just being in war. I think that's the difference. They're saying, oh, we're not really in war, but everything that we do is a military war act, or it's like these people that try to get tried after the war for war crimes. And it just, everything that they're doing, that the Democratic Party, or not really a Democratic Party, I'd say the government has really been doing for the last almost 40 years, is just becoming the world provider of war materials and making money off of that.
Well, the Bush, remember, part of that discussion then was preemptive war too. And this is whenever we began to throw out concepts of the sovereignty of nations around the world, interfere in their banking systems, send planes, unmarked planes that were in the control of the CIA, to collect citizens of disparate countries and bring them back, and call that extraordinary rendition. But I think it goes even further back. I mean, this is part of the problem of creating a standing army, and why the Constitution did not have a standing army. You know, the idea was that we were to call up militias from the various states, and I think it's a much better system to rely on commerce around the world. So this is part of why whenever I hear so much hand wringing and gnashing of teeth with regards to the dollar no longer being the reserve currency of the world, I say this was a great problem. We should have never ever have presumed to trust our government enough not to inflate the dollar against whatever species was backing it, and to pass that around to the world. And the Nixon shock was us admitting that we were lying to the world, and we chewed on our fingernails for a while after that. We've entered a fight over petrol with some sort of notion about securing energy to I don't know, augment the economies of the various countries of the world, and bring us peace in that way. And that hasn't worked either. So I do think that the BRICS monetary system, and the other things that crypto, and I don't know, digital cash, and I don't know, decentralized fractured markets, those things that are rising, I think, are the best alternative to the neocon dream of holding more firepower, more guns, more lethal technology to keep the rest of the world in line. But
it's strange that in the narrative of the debate that happened recently between President Trump and Vice President Harris, where Harris said, "We don't have any soldiers in any combat zones," and ABC News has, recently turned on this and said, "We absolutely have soldiers out there in hot zones. Like, what are you talking about?" It feels like this gaslighting that we're not on the brink of just a major escalation, and why we're not just having laser focus on trying to de-escalate these situations. Like, we can't have nuclear war. This is not good for anybody. And I think that idea that we could just drop one nuclear bomb, that is 100% not right. I agree with you completely, Rusty, that just even one nuclear bomb being used would be catastrophic.
And how convenient for Kamala Harris to say that, and then to turn around and say, "Oh, well, Congress hasn't declared war on any of these countries." We have military bases in every country in the world, and many of them we have multiple military bases. And let's think back to the conversations we've had about Niger trying to get the military bases out of their country, other African nations sort of pulling together to do the same thing. It's mind-numbing to think that she made such a claim, and it doesn't work with the other countries of the world. And America needs to be wising up to the threat that America proposes to so many other nations, and then pretends, and then uses kind diplomatic phrases like, "These are our friends." They're not our friends, and we're not their friends. It's also interesting that there's been this discussion and so much focus on Haiti and Haiti immigration recently too, that I wonder sometimes when I'm hearing all of that, are people aware that the reason that there is political instability in Haiti is because the United States perpetrated a coup and had the president of Haiti removed a couple of months ago, and has long been. I mean, we play unforgivable games in the governments all around the world, and we use the force of the threat of our military to back that. It's disgusting, and that we used to tell ourselves that the State Department was in charge. It was state over the Pentagon, and it was state over the CIA. But giving a bureaucracy or an institution of our government both the permission to lie and also the goal of plausible deniability has been catastrophic to our policies. Anyway, cheerful.
I was furiously trying to find the Haitian coup thing. That sparked my interest. I hadn't actually heard that one, so I was trying to look it up.
Oh well, it was a very calm and collected coup. We cut off some of the aid to the country, and so there was starvation. I mean, Rusty talking. We were talking about Japan and Asian countries now, and some of prior to the show about some of the things that are going on around the world. But one thing the United States loves to do in order to promote political instability in areas like Ukraine, like Venezuela, like Bolivia. I mean, the list is as long as the number of countries there are in the world, including the United States. So we like to raise the price of energy, raise the price of food in areas, and so there is political instability, and people get upset. And then part of the CIA handbook is to give money and guns through what it would be NGOs or more direct avenues to some of the people who represent the either minority or those dispossessed during political strife. And then in the case of Haiti, we sent a helicopter.
Was it related to this? I found this jailbreak. Is it related?
Yeah. Well, how did that jailbreak happen? That's what I would have to ask. I do know that the United States sent
this I remember happening, like that the airport got shut down and like there was a state of emergency that was called. Did the president get ousted during the same period of unrest? Is that what?
Yes. We sent a plane to Haiti to pick up Ariel Henry, picked him up and took him to Africa. And that was the coup. Like we created a civil war in Haiti, and then we sent a plane to rescue the leader so that we could sell rice from Arkansas to Haiti. I don't understand the reasons that we poured millions and millions of dollars into Haiti after the earthquake there, and yet I don't know how we could have both presumed that our state building was effective in the wake of the catastrophes in Afghanistan and Iraq, after our 9/11 wars, but we proceeded to continue and do so in Haiti. And
well, not to take away from what was going on there, but just as the larger narrative about the U.S. empire and what's been going on with the escalations and wars that are happening. I know famously the what is this? The Prime Minister of Poland is telling Anthony Blinken or no, that's a MEP telling Anthony Blinken to get out of his country, that they don't want anything to do with what's going on here.
And I wondered when I saw this about what the discussion or the balance of support for the United States is like in Poland, like in Germany. And I say that because, leading into the Ukrainian conflict, President Biden was asked in a press conference what the United States was going to do if Nord Stream became operational, if Germany and Russia both approved Nord Stream. And Joe Biden just smirked and said, well, we'll take care of it. And somebody said, what do you mean you'll take care of it? Because there's international law. And he said, oh, we have our ways. And a couple of weeks or months later, I forget the exact timeline, but the pipeline was bombed. And the UK and Germany are. I feel like we have a great shifting of power in Europe as countries are beginning to realize that we're probably not going to win in Ukraine, and if we do win in Ukraine, it's going to be at some sort of unbelievable cost. And that cost may include nuclear war. And
yeah, what does winning even look like? I mean, Ukraine's been decimated. We're not decimated, but devastated. Decimated is probably the wrong word. I mean, devastated is definitely what's occurred here.
Thank
Yeah.
you for not abusing the decimate devastate.
Well,
You know,
you're the one that clued me into the distinction there, because it's more than 10%. Deci meaning 10, right? So if you lose 10% of your force, you've been decimated. But I think Ukraine, unfortunately, has lost a tremendous amount of their young men, and the country is in dire straits here.
In one of our earlier conversations when we were talking probably about economic policies, and I forget which one, gold, Bitcoin, all the things we talk about, I said that part of the narrative of world trade has been one about the United States taking, with the dollar throughout the world, and colonial countries taking all these goods and taking all these things from other countries. But whenever you supply money to the rest of the world, it's not about taking things from other countries. It's about selling things from America. And I said in Haiti, I don't know what we were selling. Were we selling Arkansas rice? But in Europe, we definitely wanted to supply them with liquefied petroleum. This goes back to this narrative of creating jobs in America. And one of the I don't know, the apples in the basket of American jobs since fracking has been the extraction of natural gas and all.
Yeah, we're called what, the Saudi Arabia of natural gas, right? We've got more than any other.
Yes, and instead of bringing down energy costs in the United States, our government has sought to secure nations that we could supply natural gas to in the rest of the world. And that's why the Russian gas company. This is why we've seen the likes of Hunter Biden and other children of American politicians and so much concentration go into Ukraine. It's not because we care about democracy. It's because we care about keeping Russian gas out of Europe, so that we can send ships of compressed natural gas to Europe. But they don't understand. I mean, they're not ubiquitous in their views, but why should they rely on the United States sending shipments of compressed natural gas over whenever they could be getting it through a pipeline from Europe? It makes no sense, and the United States has abused the logic and the practical realities around the world. Like going back to the securitization of the petrostate and this petrodollar, part of the reason that the United States was so concerned about petroleum elsewhere in the world, it began in the wake of, say, the stagflations of the 70s, and like concerns about the amount of oil that we have here in the United States. But Donald Trump is right whenever he says we've got a whole lot of oil here. We have improved our abilities to extract it. And so this narrative about energy security is malarkey. But the real thing that is at stake here is, how do we keep Americans employed? And energy production jobs, oil fields and natural gas fields and refineries, et cetera, is something that the United States' government has decided was going to be one of the foundational elements of our economy. This is also why I think Enron is such a very interesting company, not for so many reasons, but part of it was its associations with the energy sector and the energy producers of Texas's alliance with political northeastern political powerhouses, political machines.
So, and this was another thing that came up in the debate, was this idea that Kamala Harris wasn't against fracking and this whole drill baby drill thing, right? Aren't we? We're sort of, that's back in play in the narrative as well. And I pulled up the LNG stuff just so we could have a graphic on it. I mean, you can clearly see that we're ramping up production pretty substantively, and fracking is all related to this because that's primarily where we get the all of the liquefied natural gas from is from the fracking activities.
Well, and this is whenever I applaud Donald Trump for his concern of nuclear war and for the lives of people around the world. In his last presidency, I thought it was an Achilles heel to the children who were gassed in Syria and his response to that. But I also thought how humane, but how sad that he was so easily manipulated in that regard. But whenever I hear his policies going forward, I think that the Democratic Party has a better understanding of the real reason that we're fracking. And I think that Donald Trump wants to make America great again and to provide people jobs. But his policy of raising tariffs for the goods that are brought in from other countries, China on top of the list, or his greatest concern. I wonder who are we going to be selling all of this oil and gas that we're digging out of the ground to? And yes, I think if we stop selling it to the likes of Europe and everywhere else that we pass foreign aid packages to and send billions of dollars to, and then sell our oil to them, why aren't we giving money directly to people in the United States? And this has also been part of the problem of the class stratification that we've seen in the United States. Sure, it's wonderful if everyone has a job, but whenever we are manipulating the markets so ham-fistedly, it's bad for the rest of the world. We need to figure out how to do this within our country and with our neighbors, and without forcing people to sit down at the table and play the game.
Yeah, well, it's a sad day. I can't say anything more about it than that. I really hope that we can de-escalate this whole situation. I mean, it's just I'm disheartened that we aren't talking more about trying to get peace. And I don't know if you saw it, but there were rumors that there was some kind of a peace accord that had tried to be established in Ukraine, and that was kind of shut down. Do you know much about that?
I mean, we just saw, we're seeing the State Department now declare or forcing the hand of Facebook. Did you see that Facebook and Meta has, after Zuckerberg's great apology for censorship, and now they're censoring the Russia Today, and we're seeing the Biden-Harris campaign renew its cries of Russia, Russia, Russia. If we're not talking to the other countries of the world, and if we're demonizing speech or look at this narrative of quote unquote foreign interference. What is foreign interference in a place where we're allowed the privilege and the autonomy to be free in our minds? And I say that with an eye on Hochel's, the Chinese spy that Hochul hired in the crackdowns on Scott. I can't think of his last name, but some of the people who gave interviews to, I think it's Scott Harrison in New York, and the FBI raided their homes, and they have been debanked and censored. If we are not allowed to speak to the leaders of other nations around the world, and then there is no chance ever of a peace at any terms. If it's only our way or the highway, and our way is also largely in part to creating bombs and missiles and lethal technologies, and selling them to other countries of the world with money we gave them so we can turn around and give it to Americans. Like, what a perverse system is that? And we've even seen the same in Israel with the supposed peace that was agreed to by the Palestinians, and Benjamin Netanyahu said absolutely not. I want it all. It would seem that the United States did not want to come to any terms with Putin with regards to Ukraine. And they are not doing so with the narrative here in the United States and doubtfully around the rest of the world. So we need the likes of the people of Poland and Europe, Germany, France to wake up. The British need to wake up. You know, they're complaining about the immigrants in their countries while we complain about the immigrants in our country as if it's the problem. The problem is this perverse system of forcing people to buy the things that we are selling.
So and the UK are involved in this escalation because how are they involved in the missile thing that's going on? I saw some tie into the UK, right? It wasn't Putin talking about that? He said if the UK authorizes NATO to use US long-range missile technology, that's what's going to escalate this, right? So it's Keir Starmer that's essentially at the table, like helping to make this happen.
Or
Keir Starmer. I said Keith. I don't know if I said his name wrong.
Yeah, I think that's closer to right. Well, the UK is one of our special friends. The UK and Japan have been our very near allies. We keep our friends close and our enemies closer. And in the wake of World War II, you know, Britain knew the game was up for their empire, and so they kept their dear enemy, the United States, very close. And we have used them ever since then as a bargaining chip with the methods that we can control politics and policies in Europe, and NATO is one of those main avenues. So UK is doing the bidding of the United States, trying to secure I don't know, the American line with regards to what we're willing to give up there. And we have already seen, I mean the cluster bombs that were fired on Sevastopol, I believe it was, several months ago, were done with United States munitions and United States guidance and United States help. And we have just been using Ukraine as just as we don't like technically declare war anymore, and we use the office of the presidency to fight a secret war so our diplomats can go around and say, oh, well, we haven't declared war there. We just have a base there. Well, we've been using Ukraine in the same way and saying, well, it wasn't us. We were just helping Ukraine. Putin is calling that out and saying this, if NATO comes out and fully supports what Ukraine has been doing in the supposed independence of their systems, then all bets are off, and you know, that is declaring that all these Russian cities are game on in this conflict, and so Europe is game on. And if Europe is game on, then the other members of NATO, notably the United States, are.
Yeah, this is tracking what I'd said earlier, is that Keir Starmer is talking about getting these long-range missiles into Russian territory without U.S. backing. So looks like this may be a pure UK escalation.
Isn't it interesting to see some of the lines brought forth by the UK and by Israel and by their leaders? You know, like as we see Israel bombing Lebanon and bombing Yemen and bombing all of their neighbors, and then turning around and saying, "What the United States is going to bail us out." we, the people of the United States, need to realize that we do not have friends in other countries. Groups of people do not have friends. We have our own political interest in the United States, and the political interests of the United Kingdom nor Israel are our political interests. And that doesn't mean that I think it's a joke to have the FARA and some of these fights over whether our politicians have been bought by foreign countries. If we wanted to solve that, we'd stop giving the money that we create for the citizens of the United States to the rest of the people of the world. That would solve that problem in a nutshell. But we need to just understand that what is good for the UK and what is good for Israel is not good for us. And maybe we should be doing something about dual citizenship also to force people into the alliance, and to remove from them, dual allegiances. But I can't believe that and I actually very much doubt that the United Kingdom is going out on their own here. They're probably being used and abused by the United States State Department and Department of Defense, the blob apparatus, the deep state that is probably using them as cover for their own agenda, the United States agenda.
Well, this is definitely a part of what's at stake in the next election here. I think when considering each of these different administrations, thinking carefully about what is the likely foreign policy, and I know that this has traditionally been one of the big talking points for anybody that was running for president or that wanted that commander-in-chief spot, is just like, what would they do with respect to foreign policy, and how would they actually conduct themselves on the world stage. And Trump has said pretty unequivocally what he plans on doing, and I think Kamala Harris, I haven't heard as strong of a what she intends to do. Like this, it's pretty hard to suss that out, and I think people are starting to now call into question exactly what her foreign policy would be when she says pretty weird things like we don't have any troops in any hot areas of the world. Like, does that show that she doesn't have actual awareness, or is she trying to gaslight the American public, or what's really going on here?
Well, it seems that her foreign policy is being dictated by the neocons, and the neocons, they can exist in any party. I mean, Cheney, Bush, many of those people who supported the Iraq wars, and
she's got the endorsement of all those guys.
Oh, right? Yes, and not only
except for Bush. I don't think Bush has come up, but Cheney and a lot of the other neocons and the ones that were all responsible for a lot of those escalations. Yeah, she's got the backing.
If Papa Bush were alive, he would have already supported her. And GW is painting somewhere in Texas while Jeb is on the phone dialing up political support for Nikki Haley in Florida. We can quite easily see what the Biden or Kamala Harris, Harris Waltz's support is, because also look at their censorship. Look at I've been disgusted with Hillary Clinton's continued pushing of the narrative of Russia. I mean, didn't we learn enough from Russiagate and the 51 spies who lied? It's quite obvious that the State Department and all of its little children, the CIA, the FBI, and the Pentagon have learned to lie from the CIA, and don't do it just abroad, but they do it to the American people now.
I would have remembered a time when, if somebody like Dick Cheney would have come out to endorse someone like Kamala Harris, that she would have distanced herself from that and said, he might say he supports me, but I have no interest in that support. But I think she embraced it, didn't she?
I assume so. They joined hands and spoke of democracy.
They joined hands, did they? Wow. I missed that part.
Figuratively, I think they both. more gnarled fingers. So yes, this is a problem. And with Trump, I don't think that tariffs are. I don't think Trump's understanding and using the political.
Yeah, it says
tool
Harris has embraced the backing of Republicans with whom
Sure.
he shares little common ground. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
This is I think this is a strong indication of like where the military industrial complex really lies. Like, you know, who do they think is going to continue to perpetuate these types of things? I think this is definitely shaping up where the narrative is, you know, which of these candidates is most likely to produce more peace in the world, and who's likely to continue to escalate things. I'm shocked, honestly. I always thought that the Democrats were kind of anti-war, but to see all of this war rhetoric coming out of the Democrats just feels like the whole party's flip-flopped.
Well, the Democrats used to be like blue collar union Democrats, but they haven't been blue collar union Democrats since Bill Clinton signed NAFTA, and at that point they became, you know, the. I spoke earlier of the alliance between the New England elites and the Texas oil men, and you know, there's a faction in the Democratic Party that's the incredibly rich, old moneyed families of New England, and incredibly rich people who want to tell everybody else what to do. It sounds like the United States foreign policy, rules based order, which is all about what are you going to give and nothing about what am I going to give. So I don't know this. I don't know what to end on with regards to this discussion of the state of the worlds, and especially with regards to what's at hand with the nuclear firepower that we have. Nuclear firepower, again, going back to what we've seen in the missile that Yemen fired, nuclear firepower coming at Mach 9 times the speed of sound. That's not something that we should be flirting with, and we should be looking for the politicians who are willing to sit down at a table and talk about sovereign immunity and the areas of jurisdiction around the world and respecting that.
Well, I think that's the place to end. It's a somber conversation. I wish we weren't having it. And yeah, let's hope that we can achieve some peace here instead of escalating this thing into a nuclear worldwide war here.
Amen to that. Thanks for having the conversation, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Yep.